Good afternoon. Welcome to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. Frank Granito in studio alongside Kevin Coleman on a rainy Wednesday afternoon, May 16th. Happy to see that you are okay. Back in studio with us. Obviously, Ridgefield took a beating last night, my friend, along with a lot of the western part of the county here. So we're at another point in time in this season, Kevin, where weather is winning.
Weather is winning, and this is going to be the topic of discussion, not just today and tomorrow, but for the rest of the week. Looks like we're going to be, full rain the rest of the week, which hopefully doesn't impact too much of the postseason schedule this upcoming weekend. But yeah, you got to feel for everyone, especially in Danbury too. Danbury got hit pretty bad last night due to that weather. So we hope everyone's okay and safe. But we're hoping that this weather can hold up and we get some postseason play in this weekend.
Well, one postseason we know that is definitely going to start. Girls lacrosse. Their schedule is finalized. They've got the top 8 seeds sorted out. They will begin play tomorrow afternoon on Thursday. Darien and New Canaan will host games Thursday. Greenwich and Wilton hosting games on Friday. We're going to have more on those games a little later on in the show. Baseball and softball, a completely different story. Softball is all pending the results of the Ridgefield-Fairfield Ward game. That'll be to determine who is the last team into the tournament. That game right now scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. Hopefully they are able to get that in. Baseball, we're looking at a lot of rainouts again this afternoon. Unlikely we see that tournament begin before Friday, Kevin.
Which is disappointing. All these teams are, this is a set schedule. They've been preparing for this, and after all the washouts and the snowouts, even during the early part of April, now they have this going into the postseason, like right before the postseason. This has got to be frustrating for the players, the coaches, the athletic directors. This has been a really frustrating spring season, to say the least, not just for baseball, but for everyone across the board.
You mentioned the snow. I was talking with the commissioner of the FCAC this morning, Dave Schultz, and he calls me, "Oh, how about this weather, Frank?" I said, "Well, at least it's not snowing." So we do have that going for us, but the big one, obviously, two big games that are really leaving the FCAC baseball schedule in shambles. Danbury and Trumbull tonight, not going to get played. That game right now tentatively being scheduled for Friday afternoon. That will help determine seedings. And then the resumption of yesterday's Wilton-Bryan McMahon game. That was originally supposed to be played tonight. They are not going to get that in. McMahon is already playing against Central tomorrow.
Oh, man.
So same with Danbury and Trumbull have to play on Friday because Danbury is playing Greenwich tomorrow. So it looks like games are going to last through Friday this week. Hopefully on Saturday we will be able to begin the FCAC tournament.
Well, I think these teams will be battle-tested before the playoffs even begin.
Well, here's an interesting thing to think about now. You had teams like Staples and St. Joe's who fast-tracked their schedule, got the game in yesterday afternoon starting at 2:30, able to beat the Storm. They're potentially now sitting off until Saturday when they thought maybe it would be Friday. We could be talking about Sunday as well because the Friday forecast is not especially great.
Yeah, and Saturday too. It's still a little too far away to really know what's going to happen on Saturday, but Friday doesn't look good. Saturday's a little sketchy. There's some rain in that afternoon hours, so man, this is just not fair for these baseball players.
It's really, and it's there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
It's one thing when you've got snow coming into April, so be it. Rain in the middle of May, it's expected this time of year. The odds that we were kind of without it, and now we're all of a sudden staring down just this horrible week of it, is a little frustrating, but
bad luck.
Yeah, that's really it. So there's potential. After talking with Mr. Schultz this morning, we could be seeing games played Saturday, Sunday to start the FCAC tournament. God forbid, even Monday, and the FCAC semifinals and championship game right now. Most likely, well, it looks at least like they're going to be moved from Monday, Wednesday to potentially Tuesday, Thursday, or even Wednesday, Friday. So the FCAC baseball tournament right now, very hard to get a read on, and it's also one of those tournaments where the seeding, we know who number 1 and number 2 are. After that, it's all still to be determined.
Yeah, and especially with that Danbury-Trumbull game that's going to get canceled now, and now you have to wait till Friday to find out because where's Trumbull going to end up in the seedings if they win? If they lose, where do they go? And then you have tomorrow, you got McMahon playing Danbury tomorrow, which is going to be really interesting. So, McMahon still has to play and figure out if they're going to still get in. Trumbull, where are they going to finish in the seedings? Greenwich as well. St. Joe's, they're a lock. But, man, this is the seedings itself. It's going to be very, very interesting to see over the next couple days here.
So you've got Central at McMahon tonight, okay? We figure that's a win for the Senators, a winless Central, and they're probably going to get that game in. It's on turf at McMahon. Should the Senators win, they are still in a good position to control their own fate. If they win both games remaining on their schedule, they will get in. Now, you've got Wilton at Ludlow later today, and I believe that game has officially been postponed already. I can confirm that with you right now that that is the case. Okay, that game is scheduled for tomorrow at 4:30. The McMahon-Wilton finale, or conclusion of their game, is scheduled for 4 o'clock. So one of those has got to change right now. You're talking about a Wilton-McMahon team, but for either Wilton or McMahon, if either of those teams goes 2-0 down the stretch here, they automatically will get the last spot in the tournament. So the Warriors maybe not as dead as we thought they were. Ludlow in a really good position. There's a scenario where we come to a 5-team tiebreaker, and Ludlow is 3-1 against those teams. So the Falcons probably the third best team to get in. The fact that they're all seeing each other makes life very easy for us to follow along. But again, now you're just talking about 2 days here where you've got to pack all this stuff in, and then right after that, quickly turn it around right to the FCI quarterfinals. One of these teams you have to figure is not going to have the luxury of being able to throw their ace in round one of the quarterfinals because they have to use them in a win-in-your-in scenario.
Right, and that's what it comes down to. Whether or not they played it or not, tomorrow is such a big day for baseball. They're going to have to throw their ace. And, yeah, that's the price you're going to have to pay if you want to get into this tournament. And that goes for any team, really, because any of these teams fighting for a spot, it doesn't matter if you're the 8th seed. And we had Scott Erickson on yesterday during the show. He said it perfectly. Once you're in, anything can happen. All 8 teams have the great opportunity to win this tournament. It doesn't matter the seedings anymore because the 1-8 matchup, if it's Ridgefield-McMahon, McMahon certainly can beat Ridgefield as well. They could cause an upset. McMahon can go on and win the whole thing if they make it to, if they're the 8th seed. But even not just McMahon, you got Wilton, Ward, Norwalk, and New Canaan all fighting for that spot as well, and Ludlow. Any of those teams get in, get that 8th seed, they certainly deserve the right to go on to the final as well.
There's a scenario where McMahon jumps all the way up to 6, Trumbull becomes the 8th seed. Imagine the pitching matchup you would get in the FCI quarterfinals, Ridgefield and Trumbull, in that first game.
Well, that's a little rematch of last year's semifinal game, which was a great game as well, down to the wire. Ridgefield edged Trumbull. That would be fantastic, and that's what's so much fun. I know it's causing some headaches for Commissioner Schultz and the rest of the athletic directors as well. But man, this is where it becomes. You have to look at it as this is fun because this is where it gets really exciting. Who's the team that's going to get in, get that 8th seed? Maybe they'll jump up. Maybe one of the higher, the seeds, teams sitting at 5, 6, 7 will jump down to 8. So that's where you look at it and say, okay, although this is frustrating because of the weather, look at it as this is exciting because who knows what's going to happen. We could find out Friday that maybe McMahon, Greenwich don't get in. Maybe Trumbull doesn't get in. That's what's so interesting about what's going to happen here with these 6, 7, 8 seedings.
To be fair, those 3 schools have clinched. They are.
Okay.
They are, and it's a matter of where they're going to sit up. But another thing, too, and our director, Mike Suppy, and I were talking about this earlier, they've got until May 24th, and I don't think it will take that long to get these games in. But for schools that are not just competing to get into the FCI tournament, a school like Stanford right now with 2 games remaining, and they're 2 games out of clinching a double L playoff spot, they've got to get their games in against Bridgeport Central and against Trinity Catholic this week. A really good job by Stanford beating Wilton on Monday to keep their playoff hopes alive. Now they've got a favorable matchup against Trinity and against Central down the stretch. 2 wins there, they get into the state tournament, but it becomes a matter of when are we going to be able to get these games in.
Right, and kudos to Stanford for beating Wilton the other. That's a really nice win for the Black Knights. Going up against Trinity, that's an emotional win. You could throw the records out the window just because of the rivalry, the Stanford rivalry there. That's a big game for the Black Knights as well. And you mentioned it. These are games that for the teams that aren't making the FCIAC tournament but still have an opportunity to make the state tournament, that's where the teams who are fighting still to get in can't take their opponent lightly.
And it's funny because Stanford went into their game against West Hill, city championship on the line. They had 4 games remaining, needed to win all 4 games to get into the state tournament. They played the best game of the season by far for the Black Knights. They've been plagued by mental mistakes and some tough errors in the field all year. They get a 3-0 victory. Scott Erickson writing in the Stanford Advocate, they celebrated like they had won the FCIAC championship, rightfully so. Come back, get a great win against Wilton. Now they look to finish with these 2 games. And it's a Stanford team, Kevin, if they continue to play the way they're playing, they could potentially upset someone in that first round. But something that's going to be a harsh reality to set in next week whenever we do get to Kubetta Stadium for the semifinals, no Stanford teams in the FCIAC tournament this year when the tournament finally comes back to the city that works.
Yeah, it's disappointing, but on the bright side, Stanford, a team that is on the younger side, I think if you're the Stanford coaching staff, you have to like the way that your team is playing, finishing out the year. That's a positive to take away from a season where you had some tough losses and the record itself didn't show to make the FCIAC tournament, but you work on it for next year. You have a lot of young talent. Maybe we'll see Stanford make it into the FCIAC tournament next year and maybe earn themselves a spot at Kubetta Field.
All right, we got to take a break on Nutmeg Sports. When we get back, the FCIAC Girls Lacrosse Tournament is set. They will begin playing tomorrow. Kevin and I look ahead at the 4 quarterfinal matchups next on the HAN Network.
Want a new experience in car buying? Scap Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. We are Connecticut's Wrangler headquarters. Come visit our new Ram Truck Center. Our Ram trucks get the job done with unparalleled style and performance. Call, click, or stop in to find the new Jeep, Chrysler Dodge car, minivan, or Ram truck that you've been looking for. Family owned and operated for over 50 years. Save thousands right now at the Jeep Celebration event and Chrysler Pacifica Incredible Sales event. Now through May 31st.
Winter's finally in the rearview mirror, and the Dock Shop is ready to help you usher in our favorite season, summer. We've got new offerings in our usual products: clothing, jewelry, home decor, fishing tackles, and boating supplies. And now the Dock Shop does in-house laser engraving. You can add a name, a boat name, latitude, longitude, an image to drinkware, serving platters, boards, or decorative accessories. No minimum, fast turnaround. Stop in today and start your summer. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, dockshop.com.
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play. Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Baystar and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866.
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. Frank Granito alongside Kevin Coleman in studio. Turning our attention now to girls lacrosse. The FCIAC quarterfinals begin tomorrow afternoon. First game for the #1 seed, 4 p.m. at Darien High School as the Blue Wave hosts the 8th seeded Staples Wreckers. Kev, you look at this game, I mean, what kind of a shot are you giving the Wreckers, who fell 19-7 back on April 13th to Darien in the regular season?
I'm sorry to the Wreckers. It's a great season. Getting into the tournament, 8 seed, 5-4. Much improvement here for the Wreckers, but this is Darien all the way. This is their tournament. This is a very talented team. Been really impressed with what I've seen from the Blue Wave this season. Lisa Lindley has done a terrific job with this crew. Again, this is Blue Wave all the way.
It's interesting now because we've talked so much about the win streak for the boys team. They've hit 70 now over the past 4 years. The girls, though, quietly just continue to dominate in conference, in state. They're looking for a 7th consecutive FCIAC championship here. And at some point in time, the more I think about this, it's really New Canaan, maybe Greenwich. I'm looking forward to seeing the Cardinals in person this weekend. One of those teams has to be the one to take down Darien. As much as you want to root for an underdog, you want to give one of those low-number schools in the tournament a chance here. This isn't March Madness, and this is not your typical high school team. You hate to say it, but Darien rolls big in this one.
Yeah, I like how you said that. This is not your typical high school team. This is a team filled with athletes who are playing at the next level, who are already at that level, it seems like, in a way. You know, the talent level at Darien is just unbelievable, so incredible to watch. They're just on another level when they're playing their opponent. But I did like what I saw from New Canaan the last weekend in April when we saw them during the doubleheader at Darien High School, boys and girls lacrosse. Both New Canaan teams, I thought, played Darien really strong. You know, played them physical. That's the one thing, too, I think if you're looking at it from a boys lacrosse point of view and a girls lacrosse point of view, you want to try and disrupt their rhythm early on, try and get them uncomfortable. And I think if you're New Canaan or Greenwich and you see them later on in the tournament, I think that's what you have to do. And I certainly think the boys, when we get to that point, if New Canaan and Darien meet each other in the boys lacrosse tournament, you're certainly going to see the physical aspect of the game rise, especially with New Canaan boys.
Yeah, it'll be interesting there. You talk about New Canaan. They will also play tomorrow in the quarterfinals for girls lacrosse. They are the number 2 seed in that tournament. 4:30, they'll play host to Fairfield Ludlow. It was a 12-6 Rams victory back on April 19th in the season. It's interesting here. I want to go with New Canaan. I think the girls are doing a lot of things really well. They challenged Darien as well as anyone has. And eventually, like I said, they're going to be the ones who knock off the Blue Wave. But Fairfield Ludlow, despite their struggles against the rest of the FCX field this year, play the Rams relatively close there at 12-6. They have that upset at the start of the year over Greenwich, so they know what it takes, but it's going to have to be a perfect effort on the road at New Canaan tomorrow to knock off the defending conference champions, or conference runner-up.
You mentioned just before how you don't think we're going to see a Cinderella, maybe March Madness type. And I think if there's one matchup that we're going to see that has the capability of doing that, it's this matchup,
yes.
The 2-7. I think Ludlow certainly has shown it this year already, the first game of the season, when beating the Greenwich Cardinals. Ludlow already has that in them. They can do it, but New Canaan plays so well at home at Dunning Field. So I give New Canaan the edge. But boy, Ludlow's going to come out, and I think if you're New Canaan, you can't look towards the semifinals just yet. You got to take this game one at a time.
No, and you're right. I think a huge thing, this is what's interesting too as well for New Canaan, they're staring not at Greenwich, who's also 9-1. Greenwich is the one who gets the short end of the stick here. They're potentially drawing Darien in the FCX semifinals as the 4 seed. Wilton is the 3 seed. New Canaan, it knows this Wilton team. They know it's a talented Wilton team. They've got to be careful there. They played that tight game at the start of the year. Don't get caught looking ahead. I actually would feel a little more concerned for the Rams if they were facing Ward than Ludlow. It's a Ward team that has some history with the Rams. They've played some tight FCX quarterfinal games, and maybe this senior group, led by the future Villanova Wildcat, Libby McKenna, maybe they find a way to just take down their rival in the Rams there. But I think New Canaan handles Ludlow. It'll be close at first. They pull away in the second half. Carolyn O'Day plays really, really well. Braden Dial turns it up. And ultimately, led by Julia Ojimek, the defense is just solid and slows down the offense. Let's look at that 3-6 matchup there with Wilton, with Fairfield Ward, and I'll give you a player right now that's going to be the difference in this one, and it's Ava Greco, and that's why the Warriors are a legit FCX contender heading into this tournament.
I agree, and Paige Brown in net, I thought she was great in the tournament last year, and they pulled some big wins last year in her first season in net. So for the Warriors, having Paige Brown as the netminder, that's big. She brings back a lot of experience from their run last year. For Ward, yes, Libby McKenna, obviously the big player. I think Ward is certainly going to keep their close eye on McKenna tomorrow, or excuse me, on Friday. It's going to be a good matchup, and I think the one game, too, that we have to keep an eye on, and I thought this team...
We're going to get to it in a second. Hold on. We're going to get to it in a second. Here's my question regarding Ward Wilton. 12-2 in the regular season, the Warriors win. Is this game over or under the number 10?
It's going to be closer to...
You got it inside of 10.
I'm going to go inside of 10,
okay.
Yeah. This is going to be a much tighter game. I think Ward has improved towards the last stretch of the season, and it's the playoffs too.
Yes.
I think you're going to see both teams play a lot tighter defense. This is going to be a closer matchup than previously.
All right, then the last quarterfinal game Friday, the 4-5 matchup again. This game, I mean, if you were to script up the FCX postseason, everyone in the world would have signed on board for this except for the Greenwich Cardinals and Richfield Tigers, who probably did not want to see each other anytime before the championship game. We know what happened last year. 2 overtimes, Richfield gets the advantage. It's a Tigers team that has been up and down throughout the year, a Greenwich team who has been so dominant. Only the 1 loss on the season. They've played so well. Greenwich won 20-10 the first time around, and you know there was a little extra motivation in that one. But if there were ever, it's a playoff game, throw the numbers out. This is the one. Break it down.
Yeah, this is the one game you want to keep an eye on because this is not going to be a 20-10 game. I guarantee you that because of one reason and one reason only. Caroline Colonel. She's going to get in that locker room, be very vocal, provide that leadership that she has, and say this is not going to happen again. And she has that capability not only in the locker room, in the huddle, but on the field as well. She can just plain simple take over a game. We've seen it already. And I think Greenwich certainly has seen it from last year. So I think, too, and one little thing I think would be very interesting, is it going to happen? I don't know. We'll find out in the next round. What if we get to see, and this would be a great storyline, get to see McKenna versus Colonel in the semifinal.
Oh, man. Just one more time
cool.
there. Just couldn't get enough of it the first few seasons of the year. Player for me to keep an eye on, and I actually do like the Cardinals in this one. I just think they have a lot to prove. They're extremely motivated after last season. I'm going to go with Caitlin Slaminko.
That's a good pick.
Just scored her 100th career goal for the Tigers a couple of games ago. I think if it comes down to the stretch here, all eyes are going to be on Caroline Colonel. And if she wins a draw and defenses start to collapse in, just sort of out of a little panic here, Slaminko is going to be that first option. She's going to know how to score. If this is a close game, I think the advantage goes to Ridgefield. Maybe you see the nerves get to Greenwich a little bit of, oh no, not again. If you're the Cardinals, you've got to take the life out of the Tigers very early in this one and not allow this game to come down to the wire, especially at home.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. That's the one thing the Tigers have to do, just kind of make them uncomfortable a little bit.
Yes.
Get them out of their comfort zone. And I think if they do that, I agree, the Tigers have the full advantage. But you're right, Greenwich has played out of their minds this entire month of May. They've been so dominant ever since losing that opening game to Ludlow. I think that really sent a message, especially to the senior crew. So this senior class, a lot of stars, a lot of veterans on this squad. They want to get to the next round, and that next round you have to get by Richfield, which is not
again.
easy
You
to
talk about some of those losses being the humbling moment, really that wake-up call for Greenwich. Having it happen in the first game of the year, that was big. Other teams wanted at the midway point to keep you honest. Well, the Cardinals have been absolutely on a tear since dropping that first FCX game. They finished the year winning 9 in a row. They will host quarterfinal game on Friday. We're going to take one more break on Nutmeg Sports. We've got a lot to catch up on in boys lacrosse. Their tournament lurking as well, approaching Saturday when the quarterfinals kick off there. Who's the team most likely to get upset this season? We'll have a look at that when we get back.
Spring is in bloom, and so are the deals at Honda of Westport's Dream Garage Spring Event. See and test drive the all-new 2018 Honda Clarity 110 MPG plug-in hybrid sedan. Stop in today and see why we've been named Deal Rater's Dealer of the Year for the 4th year running. Honda of Westport, where peace of mind is part of the deal. Get a fresh start to the new year by shaking up your meal routine. Walter Stewart's Market is your local source for a delicious selection of fresh and convenient salad shakers, like Southwest Salad with chicken, Cobb with organic chicken, Power Vegan with fruit and quinoa, Greek salad with tabbouleh, and grilled shrimp with hominy. Grab one from our salad case or order from our deli today. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
Dr. Stephen Molinaro and Peter Healy of Family Practice Dentistry and Laser Dental Care have served Ridgefield for over 22 years. Experienced staff offer gentle drillless techniques, preventative care, and cosmetic procedures in a relaxed environment. Grateful for the community's trust and support through the years, new patients and their families are welcome. Call today.
I've had Newtown Savings Bank my whole life. You don't have to worry about talking to a machine. You're talking to real people. You're getting real help. I'm banking local, and I'm loving it.
Back on the HN Network, Nutmeg Sports, Frank Granito, Kevin Coleman in studio. Rainy Wednesday around Fairfield County. Boys lacrosse season coming to an end. Crazy one here, Kevin. Yesterday, New Canaan and Trumbull trying to squeeze in their game before the storm. Well, with 8 minutes to go in the third quarter, Mother Nature said otherwise. New Canaan was leading 7-5 at the time. They will replay the game today, starting it over now, 0-0. And it was a very interesting game to that point. No team led by more than 2 at any stretch in time. I don't believe any team had scored consecutively after that first time the Rams got up to. So you've got a really balanced Trumbull team giving the Rams a run for their money. And if you're New Canaan, you've got to think, okay, that was a bit of a wake-up call yesterday. I like the Rams big today. They don't mess around. They've got the number 2 seed in the tournament pretty much 2 or 3 seed locked up here. You're going to avoid that 4-5 game, but I don't know if New Canaan, after what happened last year, wants to fool around and drop down in the standings. You've really got to take the opponent's life out of your hands early on when you think back to that disappointing loss in the FCA quarters to Wilton last year.
Yeah, and that's, for New Canaan today, they just got to take care of business against Trumbull. And I agree. I think them playing yesterday and kind of seeing a little early what to expect from Trumbull, a little wake-up call. Okay, now they come today and they take care of business. I agree. I think they win big today. They're at home, and they'll get it done.
They should. Yeah. All right. Trumbull at New Canaan today. You've got Bunnell at Stanford, Staples playing Mamaroneck, Suffield St. Joe's, and Norwalk at Wilton. Those are all, we'll call them, relative locks for the home team there, with the exception of that New Canaan-Trumbull game. We'll give the little bit of a slight edge there to Trumbull keeping it a game. Tomorrow, a big one, Fairfield-Ludlow at Ridgefield and Danbury at Greenwich. Ludlow needs a Cardinals loss, and they need to defeat the Tigers. Tigers will be looking to lock up that 2 seed. And then you've got the tournament starting on Saturday, Kevin. Right now, the high seeds in the tournament look like Darien, Ridgefield, New Canaan, and I believe Wilton will get the edge over Staples for the 4 seed. Of the top 4, who is the team this year most likely to be upset?
To be upset? Or what about team to beat Darien?
Before we get to that.
Okay. One team to be upset.
In the first round,
okay,
which low seed loses to the high seed?
Wilton.
You think Wilton Staples is that turnover?
I think Wilton Staples. I can't really say it's an upset, but yeah, I mean Wilton sitting at the 4 seed. That's going to be a really strong game. Good quarterfinal game between these 2 teams. I say Wilton. Ridgefield. I want to see who they play. They're a little vulnerable, but I think having Greg Gatto back now, they're in the driver's seat. I think I want to see them roll in the postseason. So we'll see how Ridgefield matches up with. But right now, Wilton is my answer for the time being.
Scary thought here. A Darien player who will not be named, talking about the Ridgefield team they saw last week, said it was the toughest opponent they had played to date this year. That was without Greg Gatto. I don't see the Tigers losing in the first round. They're just playing so well right now. And I think the Rams have matured enough. They take care of business. Yeah. No one is going to beat Darien at any point in this tournament. I'll go on the record right now and say that.
No,
I'll shave my head if Darien loses. That's how confident I am. It's one of those things. I just think right now, you're probably right with Wilton or Staples. It's such a toss-up game, but Greenwich is not Greenwich.
Yeah.
Trumbull and St. Joe's will be the other 2 seeds, and I just don't think those programs are quite ready to take that step to really pulling a major upset here. I think it's a pretty chalk tournament. You've got the powerhouses remaining in the Final 4, but in the end, it's Darien and everyone else.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very chalk this year. I don't think you're going to see any upsets. Just like the girls' side, there might be 1 or 2 upsets, but I doubt it. I think it's pretty much plain and simple. We know who to expect in the Final 4, and I think it's really easily could be 1, 2, 3, 4 in the semifinal game.
And the only exception on the girls' side, we both agree, Greenwich, Ridgefield, toss-up.
Oh, yeah.
That's either one of those. You would not be shocked if they came away a winner.
Yeah, and I think for Ridgefield too, the one edge I'll give them is they want another crack at Darien. Are they going to beat Darien? I agree with you. Darien's just on another level right now. But Ridgefield has that motivation where we got embarrassed last year in the final game. We want to come back and really take it to the Blue Wave, and that's, I think, what a lot of people want to see. What also people want to see is New Canaan Darien again, because of what they saw in that close matchup a couple weeks ago at Darien Stadium. I thought New Canaan played terrific. I thought they came up pretty close to taking the lead a couple of times. So they really, that's interesting Darien said that, because I thought, from what I saw from New Canaan, I thought at the time that was their toughest opponent for Darien, New Canaan was.
All right, Friday at 4 o'clock, we will be at Greenwich High School girls lacrosse quarterfinals. Tomorrow, 4:30, we're at New Canaan for their girls lacrosse quarterfinal game. So the playoffs officially kicking off tomorrow on the HAN Network. For Kevin Coleman, I'm Frank Granito. We'll see you back here for the postseason. Of course, coffee break at 11 a.m. with Kate Chaplensky on the HAN Network.